Alright guys, welcome to today's vlog where Rubem's doing my metal fender work. Okay, so I got energy drinks for the boys, but picked up some nav and side skirts and nav and rear valences yesterday that I didn't mention. Also, these are OEM nav and skirts. These aren't your fiberglass ones. These are the real deal. Picked them up locally for like dirt cheap because one of the skirts is cracked. It looks like a forklift picked up a car with the skirts on and just like cracked the whole bottom. But either way, we're gonna respray the whole car so we can just repair those and respray them with the car. But I like how they look, and it should kind of complete the car look. And then the rear valences, I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep. I might be picking up some Koku lights later this week. So if they look good with the Koku lights, I'll probably keep them. But if they don't look great with the Koku lights, or I just don't end up picking up the Koku lights, I think I'm gonna try to find a different rear bumper and just run something that matches the OEM look but isn't like Navin or anything OEM. Start this baby up. This is the cracked skirt. It's like the very bottom of it. You only see like up to here, but we will fix it. And yeah.
Alright guys, so for Mark's fender work, the way we personally like it is where the fender looks very thin on this seam. So the plan for the front fenders is to get rid of this OEM line. So we're gonna top out the fender so that this will be all nice and flat. It'll be a little bit more arched, but it's not gonna be too much wider than the OEM, but it's not gonna have this line, and it'll look very clean. And it's gonna be just a skim coat of Bondo. In the back, we were doing the same concept where we're gonna be making this arch very thin, and it's just gonna be a nice medium flare. Mark plans to get 10.5 KNPs for the backs and run the 9s in the front, so it look really nice with a little more dish. And this is fairly simple to do. We're just gonna mark out with a tape measure a certain distance to where we're gonna stop tapping it with the hammer, and then we're gonna bulge this part out further. But same concept, it's gonna be thin and it's just gonna be a smooth, clean arch. Very smooth OEM look. To get these all the same width, the way I personally do it, like on my S14 and stuff, is the car's aligned, so Mark has the same camber on both back wheels, and they're both pointing straight. So realistically speaking, if the wheel sits in right now, but if I put an inch spacer, it should sit pretty flush with the outside of this quarter panel. But it should sit the same on both sides. So if I put 2-inch spacers, this wheel would be sticking out. And when this wheel sticks out, I'll know that that's what I'm hammering to, is to have the same fitment on both sides, the same thin gap in between the wheel with a 2-inch spacer on each side. That way we know that the arches are the same, and from there on it's all just tapping away and making it look clean, making them look exactly the same mirrored finish.
So first things first, we're gonna jack up the car, and like Ruben was saying, we're just gonna put this wheel 2 inches out. That way we know where the wheel will sit, and then we just base the flare off there.
Alright, so we're gonna start off with just one spacer, one 1-inch spacer, and then we're gonna start tapping this out. But before we do that, we're gonna mark where we want the flares to end so that we can replicate it on the other side. So we'll pick up some point, like over here there's a hole, so I'll get a tape measure and I'll measure with the arch roughly where I want it, so like 4 inches, and then I'll mark it, and I'll find a point here that the other side will have the exact same point, so that where our arch ends is exactly the same. And then we'll just start hammering from there, tapping it to clear this nicely, because as you can see, it goes sideways. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to make this a nice, thin, consistent flare that comes out over the tire nicely. So let's get to measuring. 5 inches. Alright, so I marked out the arch where I want to hammer it out, and I'm hammering from this point and this point, which is level to each other on the quarter panel, so that the arch, it ends at the same distance on the quarter panel, so it looks proportional. I marked out 5 inches from, there's a little hole in here for like a OEM valence or whatever, and then on this side, to get a level, I marked out 12 inches, which is from this two-tone little side skirt portion, and that's where my flares are going to end. And then from these two markings, I marked the center, which was 12 inches. 12 inches this way, 12 inches this way, which is the center of the arch. So I marked from the center half again, so this is in 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Equal distance. So this is the main part that I'll be hammering out. This is the most aggressive portion of the flare, and then after this quarter portion on both sides, that's where I mellow it out and try to go to the OEM body line. That's how I get it to look proportional and stuff. So I'm gonna go mark out these, measure and mark out these distances on the other quarter panel, and then I'll start banging out this quarter to fit the wheel. So we have started and ended, well, we've started the flare on both sides from the top of the valence, because that's going to be a seam, and the top of the side skirt. And we've started the flare from the same distance from both of those seams, because they're at the same height. So the flare is still the same, except we made it a longer flare, so that it doesn't end up a little bit higher, which we just decided to lower down our markings a little bit. That's why we created these two new markings. But that was because of the side skirts and stuff. If we didn't run side skirts and the valence, then I would have still left it up here higher. Now that we have perfected and mirrored the flare on both sides, we're gonna get ready to grind it down. But not when you hold me. Your beauty weighs on me. This feeling is too good. Alright, so the arch is down, it's in shape, but it ended up pushing this part of the quarter panel in, because this was already a dent before from when Mark got rear-ended. It wrinkled in a little, so it pushed here and it pushed up here. So I'm gonna pull these two spots out so that the arch has its full shape and it's ready for Bondo. I'm gonna use a stud puller, which is pretty cool. Just got this little stud that you push in like that, and I'm gonna have one here for sure. Put like this, and I push this in, and I press a button, and it welds the stud. And after that stud, you slide this in, push it back, and then you end up tapping this out. Using the stud puller is highly effective in having a Bondo work that lasts and grabs on good. So I got like 100 more of these to do, and she'll be ready to go.
And this concludes the episode.